Hello, everyone. Karen Glasser here, and welcome to Karen Glasser Live. I welcome guests from all across the globe who entertain us, wow us, and excite us, and today is no exception. So make sure you say hi in the comments and let us know where you are watching from. Today, I welcome Karen Fritz to the show. As founder of the Tiny Biz Village, Karen is your go-to guide in both the inner and outer adventures of simplifying your business. She's equally at home exploring motorcycling, motherhood, management, or meditation, anything that brings her deeper into the experience of aliveness. And so, without further ado, welcome to the show.
Hi, Karen. Thanks for having me.
I am so happy that you're here. We have a lot to talk about. You and I have known each other for several years at this point, and we have so many things in common, in terms of technology and things like that. But you have gotten involved in something really cool with the Tiny Biz Village that you have created out of thin air, I think. It's so amazing. But before we do that, today's topic is breaking out of the bro marketing that shames people into purchasing from gurus. Yeah. So, what is bro marketing? How would you describe bro marketing?
It's a philosophy that says, I know what's good for you more than you do. And by the way, the best thing for you is the best thing for me. Thank you very much.
Well said, Karen. It's an interesting phenomena, I think. I've been in this industry since 2010, in the internet marketing industry, for lack of, I don't know what you want to call it. And I have seen this wax and wane. When I first got into it, it was like in 2011, 2012, if I heard one more expert tell me what I should be doing and that they were doing it and showed their cars and their houses and how amazing they were, I thought I was going to throw up. How about you?
Exactly. As if those were even my goals. Like the first thing is that I should have their goals.
Right. And what's the whole should? Exactly. And then it seemed to disappear for a while. And I don't know where they all went, but now they're back. They are back. And so, what do you tell people that you work with, that you mentor, when they come to you and say, "Oh, such and such told me I need to do this, and such told me I need to do that"? Well, how do you help them get out of that? I need to do this.
What I say is, let's look at how you are unique and what uniquely fits you. Right? There's a guru out there who will tell you any particular thing is the only thing that will ever work and you must do it. Right? There's that fear and that urgency behind it. And really, when we settle back and say, how am I divinely designed? And what is going to be the best match that brings me joy in the execution of it and has other people in joy as they meet me there? That's what's going to work.
And how are you received when you say that? Because again, the noise is so loud out there.
There's always an initial sense of, oh my God, that's just such relief.
Thank you. Right.
And then there's the bounce back that says, but will it really, can I still make enough? Right. And so there's this really interesting rubber band effect that is real. It's real. And that's the fear that the bro marketing has instilled. If you don't do it my way, you'll lose.
And we know that's not true. I mean,
This is bullshit.
That's not true. Well, I was going to say that too. It is total bullshit. So what would be the first step for somebody to take to close their ears, don't listen to all that garbage, so that they can step into their brilliance without, listening to all that?
Right. And that's one of the first things we look at. There's an assumption. I make an assumption that of all the stuff we're doing in our business, there's an 80-20. 80% of our actual profits are coming from 20% of our effort.
Yeah.
And it's probably actually even the 20% we enjoy. So looking at where are the profits actually coming from and where's my joy actually coming from, right?
Right.
And then finding that intersection that's high on both of those and starting to weed out the noise in our own activities.
Interesting. So you have gotten involved. I kind of mentioned before the whole Tiny Biz Village. First of all, I want to talk to you about that because I'm all about minimalism and I'm all about the whole idea of less is more and how do we do that. So let's start from the beginning. Where did the Tiny Biz Village come from? How did you come to this?
Even at the end of 2019, I was feeling pretty burned out. Right.
Right.
I should have had a clue when I did a little ebook, comic book on burnout.
Hmm.
And so when I went into 2020 and the world changed, I put myself on sabbatical. I was like, there's nothing useful I can do. I'm taking 90 days just off. And when it was time to come back, I didn't want to come back to the hustle. Like there was this like, I don't wanna.
Right.
And I bet I'm not the only one. That was the key was I bet I'm not the only one. And I looked at where I am in my stage of life, and I don't have to, right? I've created a situation where I can be a digital nomad. I'm actually right now at my mom's house because I'm helping her to get ready to move into independent living, downshift. I can do these things because of the way I've set up my life. And when I realized I don't want to go back to the hustle, I don't need to be building a seven-figure empire. And I'm not the only one. There are moms out there who want to be home with their kids, especially during the lockdowns. There are artists who are realizing my art is actually more important than the next $1,000. Or sports, elite athletes that really want it. Like, I want to be a ski bummer. I want to be a surfer dude more than I want that next $1,000. And so there's a level where I said, I'm at an okay level. I need this much. I'm not quite ready to retire and I still have good to give the world, but I need this much. I don't need to create some huge empire that then takes my attention to run it. I don't want a castle. I want something more like a tiny house. Oh, I'm going to call it a tiny biz. And that's how it got started.
Is there guilt associated with this? I know that I feel just like you, and I know that when this whole lockdown happened and I had to really take a step back, we all had to take a step back and decide, okay, what next? How are we going to do this? What's going to be next? And I felt a little guilty that I kind of didn't want to go back to what I was doing. So there must be guilt, right?
There is there, and it's on multiple levels, right? There's the guilt of should I be optimizing my estate so my
Mhm.
children can benefit, right?
Right.
But there's also, wow, if I'm in such a good position, shouldn't I become a job creator, right? Shouldn't I be building something in order to create employment for others and sharing that?
Hmm.
Or at the very least, shouldn't I maximize the amount of money I can collect in order to be philanthropic, right?
Interesting.
But all of those come from a philosophy that's based on you should want to maximize.
Mm.
And when I really came home and I said, is that mine to do? I said, it was. There was a season in my life when I worked on those areas, and that's what I was about. What is it for me to do now?
Hmm.
Now it's much more to be a beneficial presence in every room I walk into. And that does not involve being stressed,
Hmm.
looking over there, being focused on the future. It involves being present.
In
And
the
how
now.
do I really focus on that?
And so out of that came the Tiny Biz
Right,
Village. So
right.
let's talk about this. It is an online community, correct?
Yes, yes.
So what happens? Can what happens in the Tiny Biz Village?
We talk about what it's like and how to make it work
Hmm.
to have what some would consider a suboptimal business, right?
Hmm.
That and listen to the amount of judgment that's in that.
Right.
And there are so many people, if you're hanging out in the online marketing areas, that'll say, "Oh, you're just playing small." I'm like, "Damn straight." Or you're afraid because you don't know your worth. Yeah, I do know my worth, and it's a heck of a lot more than money at this point. And so there's an attempt to shame that's out there to get you to buy stuff.
Stuff.
And in the Tiny Biz Village, it's really more coming from a minimalism philosophy, right? Find what is most important and remove the distractions. So we talk about what is most important. Is it your kids? How's that working? What do you need to do? Is it parent caregiving? Is it your sport or your art? Where are you going on your next trip if you're
Right.
doing the digital nomad? So what is important? And then we have a whole section on every area of business. How do you make it tiny? How do you let go? How do you minimize expenses? How do you get down to maybe one marketing channel instead of, oh, but I have to do it all? No, you don't. You
Been
don't.
there. I'm guilty.
Right? And
I'm
then we
guilty.
have an area that's like a little farmer's market in the village
How fun.
that allows people who want to have a booth and promote their services to other people in the village, right? Because it's going to come out in the long run as a movement. There are so many people who realizing there's a season in life to go for it. There's a season
Right.
in life to be impact and influence and all of the things. And there are other seasons of life where that's not what it's about.
I so agree with you. I think it's almost something that I now strive to attain. It's as I've made the decision, as you have, to I don't want to be scalable. It's funny. I hear that word a lot. Well, is your business scalable? Right? I'm sure you've heard that. And in the past, I would think, oh, okay, that how do I make it scalable? What does that mean? Do I have to duplicate myself? I mean, what exactly does that mean? And it caused so much stress, actually, knowing that I can't duplicate me and I don't want to. And I want to just do what I want to do. And
Yes.
right? I mean, that's at the end of the day. I just want to do what I want to do. And I don't want anyone to tell me that I shouldn't or can't or what are you doing. So I love the ideas that people can come online to this Tiny Biz Village and they can meet like-minded individuals, right?
Yeah.
So what what might be one of the things that someone can find in there? If I'm going to go in there, would I search for people that um, are doing the digital nomad thing? And I
Mhm.
want to learn more about that. Are you still doing that, by the way?
I am off and on.
Hmm?
I'm actually, I'm not in my home, so I am a digital
Right,
nomad
right.
for the
You're here.
winter here in
Right,
Arizona.
right.
But I've just been down in Baja where I was off grid for a week.
Hmm.
And a couple weeks before that, I was on safari in Tanzania. So yeah, I'm doing the digital nomad thing in between caring for my mom and dealing with my own health challenges and. So people can go into the village and there are areas for all of those interests. There's spaces on the Circle platform and you can go in and find other people who are doing it. You're like, well, yeah, but what kind of router are you using in your van or whatever,
Those
right?
kind of things.
And
Okay.
then there are other areas that are more about technology or they're more about marketing channels.
Hmm.
How do you slim down your program offerings and say, this is the 80/20. This is the program that's bringing in most of my revenue. How do I stop marketing the other ones that I'm not going to do anymore?
So interesting you said that. I've spent the last 12 years building my email list because I was told back then the money's in the list, right? I mean,
Oh
that
yeah, I've heard
right,
that.
the money's in the list. And I built it up to over 10,000 people on my list. And about 3 months ago, I looked at the list and I said to myself, who are these people? I don't even know who they are. They're not engaging with me. And I did something I think most internet marketers would be horrified. I dumped my list. I literally dumped the list. I went in there and I had my web guy. I said, I don't, anyone that has not engaged with me in the last year, remove. And there were still way too many people in there and I still didn't know who they were. So we got rid of almost everybody. My list now has 300 people on it and I am happy as a clam. Why do you think that is? I'm trying to figure out why I'm happy that I don't have people on my list.
Because now you have connections. They're
Mm,
not numbers, they're people, right? There was an era when it was all about the numbers,
Right.
right? Just get all the people on your list, and then you have to make this kind of an offer for the number of people to go to the next step of your funnel
Right.
because you've got a 20-stage funnel,
Right.
right? All that. You
The
don't need to do
martini
that
glass.
anymore,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so when you're treating your heart business like mass marketing Coca-Cola, because
Right.
all those people that left corporate back in the 90s were like, I know how to do mass marketing. Let's apply it to coaching. And he's like, no, no, that doesn't fit. But when you start to let go of that mass marketing mentality and it's all about the numbers, then you're bringing it into it's about the topic, it's about the conversation. What is it that you want to be engaging with people about, not selling at them?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the whole idea behind the list, right? You have a list of people so you can sell them your stuff
And other people's stuff.
and other people's stuff that you probably never used. And
Yeah.
so you are literally promoting and putting your name on something that could be a bunch of crap. And normally it was. Normally
Yeah.
it
Right.
was. I mean, I've heard horror stories. I'm sure you've heard horror stories of people that have spent tens of thousands of dollars to work with the guru. So I love the idea that you brought it back down to the lowest common denominator of simplicity. Um,
Mhm.
I totally love this. If you're just tuning in, we're talking with Karen Fritz, the founder of the Tiny Biz Village. All right, you mentioned that you just got back from your trip, right? And you travel the world, right, to experience those
Yeah.
sacred sites. And you also co-founded something called Conscious Capitalism, the Colorado chapter. So let's just define that. What does conscious capitalism mean?
Conscious capitalism is a movement that came through in the early 2000s, and it was founded by John Mackey
Mm-hmm.
and Raj Shimoda,
Mm-hmm.
and out of Stanford, and Stanford for Raj, Whole Foods for John. And they really looked at what makes a business that's about more than profit only.
Mm.
And that was, I would call it more conscientious capitalism,
Mm-hmm.
but it's looking at that people, profit, planet, and purpose, and having the pillars in your business that actually weave that together so that rather than only being responsible to your shareholders,
Mm-hmm.
you become responsible to all the stakeholders, which includes your clients, it includes your employees or team, it includes the community in which you operate,
Mm-hmm.
and it includes your competitors. Like, how do you really raise the water level for everyone and find, like, oh, yeah, we thought we were competitors, but this really you can do better than I can. And I went to several of their conferences
Mm-hmm.
for CEOs of these businesses, Trader Joe's, Container Store. A lot of well-known companies
Mm-hmm.
are in the conscious capitalism movement.
Interesting.
And I thought, this fits Colorado so well, right? So how can I start to gather? These are the people I want to hang out with at that phase of my life. How do I bring them together? I'm like, well, let's open our chapter. And so I worked with some other local leaders, and we put together the Colorado chapter for conscious capitalism and gave people a forum to come together with people who believe like them. There's a
And,
pattern.
and how has it been received? Are you
Oh,
are
it's
you
been
getting?
great because, Colorado is big into the purpose movement and environmental things, but it's also the home to B Labs. So if you're in the B Corp movement, which
Uh-huh.
is the blend
Mhm.
of purpose and profit, it's not really a C Corp and it's not really a nonprofit. It's for a benefit. The B Lab that does the assessment to give you the green stamp that you are a B Corp is in Boulder. So there's a lot going on in Colorado around that.
So, why are you doing this? Why do you do what you do? Why have you taken this upon yourself to create this amazing platform and this amazing place for like minded people to come? Why are you doing this?
That I've asked myself that question. Like, I could retire. What the heck am I doing here? Right? And yet there's a deeper sense that this is what's mine to do. This needs to come forward. It's beyond a simplification
Mhm.
movement. It's really around seasons of life, and it's around honor and respect and an alternate economy even. And building out the structure, that's my game. Like I went in and I built the platform and I did all, and that was
Right.
great fun. And bringing the people together, inviting the people in, and keeping that engagement level is my growing edge. Of course, it's perfect for me to be doing that because it's not that easy for me. So that's my adventure.
How fun. I mean, it actually sounds like fun, Karen. It sounds like you're just having a good time,
Right? Yeah.
right? And how bad is that, right? That is actually what we all should be striving to do, is to have a good time. You talk about the joy meter. What is that?
Right. I think so much of business is all about your KPIs, right? Your key performance indicators,
Right,
with the assumption that the outcome is supposed to be maximum profit, right? And so all of these
right,
indicators and measurements and metrics point toward what's going to generate profit. Great. We're not running hobbies.
right,
We
right,
don't necessarily need to maximize it though. What it gets balanced off with is our passion,
right,
or whatever we want to call that, what we're here to do. And for me, it's also the personal experience of myself in that business. And the experience I want to be having of myself is joy and being in flow. And so I can look at the different activities, the different things that are involved in running a business, and say, which of these gives me great joy, like it's pegging the meter,
right.
or, not so
Not
much.
so
And some of
much.
them actually drain me. And so to
Mhm.
look at, how do I design my business to fit what's joyful for me? I am going to maximize the time that I get to spend on technical problem solving
Right,
and creative things, and minimize the time that I'm going to multiple networking interactions,
right,
right? So that's me. Other people are people. They
right.
want to do the reverse, and that's great. Just know where your joy is.
Right. And I think that's really an important statement. Know where your joy is. So, how does somebody figure out if they're a candidate or a good, like the Tiny Biz Village is a good place for them?
Right. Um, Basically, it's, I have another interest in my life that's worth more to me than the next $1,000. I've
Mhm.
reached a comfort level, and that's
Right.
actually, I built a quiz because I like building things, and it's called the Tiny Biz Quiz. And one of the questions on that quiz is, how close are you to meeting your monthly income needs?
Right.
Because the Tiny Biz Village is generally not for somebody who needs their business to support their whole household. These are people that have a background income, or they have retirement savings, or they have a spouse who's working, and they still need and want to work,
Right.
but it doesn't need to generate the whole thing, and there's not that stress on it.
Right. And
But
I'm curious, has there been even more interest when we talk about the great resignation and what's going on in our country right now? Do you see a correlation to that? Do you see that people are saying, you
totally.
know what? It's not I can't live on this. I need to reevaluate what I'm doing. And is there a correlation?
I think that it's that second piece. I need
Mhm.
to reevaluate what I'm doing,
Mhm.
right? Because there's so much going on, whether you're a restaurant worker
Right.
or an insurance claims calculator or whatever,
Right.
that, like, is this all that life is about? And then when the answer is no, there's more.
Right.
Like, how do I choose to balance the financing and the fun at
Right.
this season of my life? I don't need to make it wrong for somebody to want to have a job
Right.
or
Right.
to build the empire,
Right.
but that it's seasonal in our lives.
Right.
And so I think with people doing the resignation where they're like, I'm not going back to whatever their hustle was.
Right.
How can I replace it with something that brings me more on the joy meter?
So they can go over and take the quiz at
Yep.
tinybiz-quiz.com. And they can also go visit atinybiz.com and
Right. Yeah.
check it out. Do you have to do the quiz before you go and check out the website,
Oh,
or
check out the
check
website
out the
and see
website?
what's there. I put the quiz in front of the actual village so that the technology drips emails that say, here's what to go look at next in the village. Here's where else you can explore. Like, it's a guided tour, as though I was like, hey, come visit my town and look inside the pub here and let's go sit down and have coffee. And so it's more of an engaging way to bring somebody into the community.
And what I like about that is that you take away the stress of figuring out what you're supposed to do next, because that's the whole point. You want to be able to alleviate that stress. And I don't know about you, when I do something new and I look at the instructions or I go in somewhere and it's like, oh, it's too much. So I love the fact that you are actually directing traffic. That's pretty cool. That is absolutely cool. Any last minute thoughts you want to share with our audience before we send them on our way to Tiny Biz?
Um, my philosophy is you are uniquely and divinely designed for what you're really here to do. Your personality is not an accident to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
And so really honoring that and taking it forward in whatever you bring yourself to
Mm-hmm.
is the ultimate gift. And that's what matters to me. If it's a tiny biz kind of thing, great. I want to support you. If you're out there building a nonprofit to impact the world, great. I support you in that.
Right.
If you want to build the empire that's going to create jobs for people, awesome. It's not making it wrong, it's making it divinely right.
Right. And no shame. No
Yeah.
shame. Do what you want to do. So I leave you with one last question. Karen Fritz, what is your superpower?
Oh, well, as a confirmed geek, I would say that my superpower is the ability to recognize patterns in chaos,
Mm,
right? So I can look at a lot of things that are going on in a context and say, this is what is emergent right now,
mhm.
and other things fall back into the soup. And that's where I'm helping somebody to organize their email, or I'm trend spotting something like the simplification movement. And that ability to spot the patterns in chaos is a gift I can bring to so many fields and
Right.
then hand it off to somebody else and say, here's the pattern,
Right.
fly with it.
You know what? You've started a movement, and I know that it's not. It's just the beginning. It is totally just the beginning. I think we are at that tipping point as a community and as a society that we are looking for that something. It's not really more. The something that will make our heart feel joy, as you said. It's about the joy. I want to make sure that you guys go ahead and follow us on KarenGlasser.com. You can find all the different shows there. And also on social, I'm everywhere, even though I'm now thinking that maybe I shouldn't be. But I am right now. I'm everywhere. I'm on, all the platforms. Go and follow me there as well. And go out and give somebody an awesome day. And we'll see you next time on the next Karen Glasser Live.